Yeah, the meeting was finished, but the meeting started wrong.
Also, you are involved in this.
Yeah, we're BCP, we're BCP's vendor. We're vendors for all the offices.
Oh.
All right, guys, well, welcome. This is actually gonna be a really fun class, because we get to play with toys, you know? Kind of give you guys an introductory feel of mold, right? And what you guys should look out for yourselves and for your clients on identifying mold, right? First thing is first, never touch it. You know, because you don't know if it is or it isn't mold. So, how do I, thank you. Okay, obviously. Okay, what is mold? All right, does anybody know what mold is? Because if not, I have a really good explanation of what mold is. So it's mold. Mold is a fungus, all right? What's another fungus? Mushroom, right? Mold is a fungus, right? That forms and spreads on various kinds of damp or decaying organic matter. Joriel, mold goes basically where?
Everything that they can be attached and get food out of the environment.
It grows best at,
And that's the absence of the light. Something that is dark and wet, pretty much.
so like you said, they're found in both indoors and outdoors, all climates, during all seasons. Like I was saying in June, there's mold in this room right now. There's mold in this room right now. Now, could it be toxic? Could it be, safer? I say there's good in the mold, but what's good mold for me, because I'm not allergic to mold, could be bad to someone who's allergic to like penicillin.
Technically, allergies that comes from the plant, they grow out of the forest. That's actually mold
Exactly.
that is comes from the trees. That's why a lot of allergic reaction happens when you go into a house that you start sniffing, because that's actually because of the smoke.
Mhm. So for everything we hear about mold, you're probably left wondering, why is mold bad? And more importantly, is mold dangerous? Here's some important information to make sure you know the identifying mold and the dangers posed by the mold growth. So we're kind of explaining to you all that. I'm gonna give you 2 slides. It's kind of a little bit hard to see. Wally, can you just shut the light off? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, yeah, Wally, shut the light off.
But thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna give you guys 2 photos, right? There's 5 of you guys in here. Me and Joriel, we know the answers. Okay? Is this mold or is this mold? Tell me which one of these 2 is mold. Are they both mold or neither of them mold?
The both mold.
So Sasha's saying they're both mold.
Whoa.
I agree with
Okay? So Kelly's saying they're both mold. Alex, kind of shy back there. What's that?
Which one is?
I think they both do.
You think it's both mold? Ladies,
Mold.
both mold. One of these is not mold.
On the right.
So the thing is, you can't assume what is mold and what is not. This is mold. This is a burnable mold. Okay?
This is what?
A burn. A client called us and said they had mold inside this HVAC unit area. From our first inspection, we knew it's not mold. Because what mold does, it grows, right? And it looks for a channel for it to feed. And it's feeding on it loves gypsum board, sheetrock. It loves eating off that in living growing. Because what happens is that sheetrock retains a lot of that moisture. Over here was the only spot that was affected. There was nothing underneath, on top, or even on the sides. So for mold to be in just one general area and not spread, it kind of makes it concerning, but we tested anyway, just like our client wanted, and he found out it was actually a burn mark. Is mold bad? Oh, I said before, it is bad, but it's a type of fungus, okay? So basically, this is just a long form of it, but the most commonly toxic mold is called black mold, as we know, right? So can it cause health problems? Joriel, do you want to share me that story from that family down in Georgia? Do you remember that story?
So somebody told us the story about a family that bought a new house, right? And after 1 or 2 years, they started having health issues, like the husband was losing the memory and the kids were like sick. They always go to the hospital and they were like vomiting and everything. They couldn't breathe. So after years of this happening, they found out that the company that they hired, it was a small company, they hired that, and they noticed that actually the refrigerator line for the water was leaking for years. And after that mold became so black and so bad, that's when the spores started being in the whole house. And after what, 5, 6 years?
Well, they had a big fight with the insurance company, which Sasha and I can tell you all about with our house. The insurance company would not let them replace the floor or do any repairs in risk of not getting the settlement. So they didn't do it. They ended up moving out of the house. When the husband had early signs of dementia and Alzheimer's, they ended up being awarded $65 million. So that $65 million really wasn't enjoyed. 2 years later, the husband died. 3 years later, 3 years from the incident, the son died. And then shortly after, the mother died. Well, before they all died, the judge changed the judgment from $65 million to, I think, $17 million. But the family was not able, and this house was beautiful, it's a mansion down in Atlanta, Georgia. So that is at the most extreme effects of mold. Other effects of mold is asthma, right? Having problems because the mold spores are going into your breathing system. So mold is dangerous, and it's even more dangerous if you're allergic to mold, right? All right, so these are different types of mold, all right? Black mold, blue mold, white mold, green mold. What's not on here is slimy mold. All right, there's such a thing as slimy mold. The most dangerous type of mold, the most toxic type of mold that the CDC said is Styrobacteria. All right, Styrobacteria is black mold. All right, this is the one that is the most toxic. This is the one that everyone fears. They see mold on the wall. Oh, it's black mold. No, we don't know if it's black mold. Joey, how many different forms of mold is there?
There's more than 600. There's thousands.
600,000 different types of mold. So you can't just say, hey, this is mold, because look, looking at all this, they look like the same thing, right? You can't tell the difference. But Styrobacteria is the most harmful. Penicillium is what we have in medicine for like penicillin, all right? What does mold smell like? There is, yeah, go sure.
Okay, so what caused make the different color of the mold?
It's a different gene. Yeah, it's a different, so pretty much, so they call it, what do they call it, genes or?
Gens and genders.
Yeah, they like, kind of like,
Different genders and different exposure to the temperature. Because
Yeah.
some of them can adapt, and even the material that actually they attach is going to be different. It depends on how they got there, the material that they attach, the lighting, the darkness, the minerals around the air. So it's a lot. That's why it's so many different.
and you can have more than one mold growing on top of each other. So when we do a swab sample, we can have many types of mold in that one little area. It can be multiple types. So what is mold?
We all know here everything that we use the term. So after we finish,
You know, we'll play with the toys. So mold does have a smell. Okay, just hold on. The mold does have a smell. It has that musty, kind of damp smell, mildewy. So mold does have a
It's
smell.
literally like a gym.
Yeah, 100%.
Like when you go to the gym and you just smell like that moisture is like around the air, that's literally.
So that smell is the actual gas that's produced from the mold. So that's what causes that smell. All right, so this is different areas that you can find mold and smell. So peeling wallpaper, dampness, dark and colored spots on the wall, discoloring carpet, grout between the tiles, because darkness, and then, you know, just different symptoms is sneezing, runny nose, asthma. One thing to be aware is how quickly you can become accustomed to the smells in your home, all right? You get really used to the smell of mold where it doesn't think, you don't think anything of it, you get used to it, all right? If you do start smelling it, what you do definitely want to do is contact us. We can do an assessment, and after the assessment, we'll give you a remediation plan. And the remediation plan basically tells you what you need to do, right? does it travel? So I told you guys before, between those two pictures, why that one picture, looked like mold, but it wasn't. Mold does travel. So we can see an area of mold on sheetrock. Could be really small from us looking at it. On the flip side, on the back side, where it's dark, it's humid, it's moldy. I mean, it's damp. What you see is the backside is completely covered with mold.
I look at the picture. Let me say something about this. Have you guys noticed that the mostly mold that you see in the houses are behind the insulation of the walls? When you have a basement, that you rip out a little bit of the insulation, you're gonna have moisture in the back because the insulation, what it do is actually isolate the temperature. So if you have inside, you have hot or cool, and outside you got cool or hot backwards, it's gonna condensate. So condensation is moist temperature. So it's gonna hold that temperature in the back of the insulation, and that's what it happens. So the temperature changes. So you wouldn't notice if you don't remove everything like insulation apart and everything till it's too late.
And
You see the
different,
black spot.
and different ways that we identify where this mold is when we do our inspection. Our inspection is just not a visual inspection where we're looking at, okay, that might be mold there. What we're doing is we're doing air quality tests. We're using our thermal imaging camera. So the thermal imaging camera, we can look for signs of water, dampness, right? Different change of temperatures in the walls. So what we do is we can trace the origin, because unless you fix the origin of the leak or the water issue, this will never go away. You can cut the sheetrock out as many times as you want. If water keeps on penetrating this wall, as many times you put sheetrock on, you're gonna get mold, because the mold will never go away unless you fix the problem, which is the moisture. All right, so here's another photo. And you can see it starts down here and it just travels because it likes to eat. It likes to sit. The water, if you ever put a napkin inside a piece of water, you see how the water just goes up and travels? Same exact way mold does, because mold follows that direction of water. You see this right here in the front, right? Oh goodness, this is a wrong picture. But anyway, but you see in the front, right? It doesn't look bad. But this was the front of the back picture I showed you before. Here's another one. You see the mildew coming up on this wood. That's just because the water comes from the shower, penetrating whatever it's here, sheetrock or whatever it is, and got onto the wood. So these are all photos of just normal houses like the ones you live in at your house. One of the most common places that you'll find mold is around the surrounding of the tub or the shower panel. That mildew is mold. It's like slimy mold, right? So that is a form of mold. Here are the most common causes of mold in your home. 10 most common places. Once we finish this, then we're going to start going, and we'll show you this stuff here, and then we're done, right? So one, persistent humidity, all right? Especially if you live in a humid place, there's nowhere for that air to kind of warm up or the moisture in the air to vent out. Jor-El, what is a good thing to do in an attic that's super humid?
Ventilation.
That's it.
That's ventilation. And then also, a lot of people ask me, oh, where's this smoke come from? And then I look, the first thing that we look is outside. Because people might say, oh, yeah, there's a leak. But like, mold is not only the leaks and water producing. Let's say that you live in a very dense vegetation area, right? So you have a lot of trees around your house. What that means that it's going to be a lot of moisture. So it could be more outside of your property, and you have so much ventilation. Actually, the moisture going inside the property and attached to the wall. Then you close the doors and the windows, and there it is in the wall and start growing, and that's other things. That's why we do mostly two samples. We take our sample from outside to make sure that there's nothing outside producing it, and we make a inside of the property. That's what. So we have at least a reference to where is the mold. If it's outside, no. Okay, it is inside. Let's try to figure it out. See, and also something that we did. Can you go back for pictures so I can show something? Yeah. When we do remediation, people think naturally you may think, oh, this is the area affected. And it's not. Every time that you go to do a remediation, let's say that the mold is right here, you go at least 3 feet down, 3 feet wide and 3 feet up. Because the mold, visually, we can see just over here, but it can have spores or it can have the roots inside around this area too. So if you fix only this side over here, then you're gonna start growing over here, and over there. So that's something that we should.
Another thing is, oh shit, Sash, there it is.
Oh, snap.
Nope, those are all my bags.
Damn, mommy.
And we have another 12 boxes too.
Where's he gonna put it right
I
now?
have no clue.
They're just gonna stack it just to do the stuff with friends. Anyways, continue to
Those are my shopping bags, yeah, 10,000.
What it is?
I bought, we have another 12 boxes coming. 20 boxes.
We were in shopping bags.
We were shopping bags.
So, but it's not just the sheetrock. The mold is inside the wood too. So if we don't eliminate the roots, it's gonna keep on branching, right? So another area is leaking pipes. No. So if you remember the story that Joey was telling you about the leaking water supply line to the refrigerator, even if it's a small leak, it's not causing a flood. What happens is that water is gonna stay underneath the tiles, underneath hard floors, underneath carpeting, underneath vinyl flooring. What happens is it doesn't have air to let it to evaporate. It stays in there with the dampness, with the darkness, all that is contributing to the growth of mold. A leaking roof.
Yeah.
A leaking roof. I mean, you guys see the trend. It's water. Water is basically one of the major contributors of mold growth. It's you know, so a leaking roof is another one. So when a home inspector looks, they'll look at the rafters and they'll say, hey, could be old water damage because it's white. Well, you can explain that.
Yeah, so when you go to the attics, that you see some of the rafters, I mean, the beams, right? Some of them like have a old leak and these like white stains, that's mold. Because what happens is like, okay, you fix the roof, but you forgot actually the wood was damaged with the water. And that water is now over there, and then, you know, and the wood is now covered, so it is now start growing the mold. And even that is white, actually, what happens is like, it stay there till you clean it. Even that is dead, or it's not reproducing anymore, at least you have this pore that actually can go into your property and start the same thing. So it's a little risky, that's why every time that we do an inspection, we recommend it, okay? We need to work out, remediate it, and try to do air, backup air, try to exchange the air, even a lot of ventilation, so everything that is in the air can go away. See, so this is, it's a lot of minor things to get rid of the
Not
mold.
that big issue. Build up condensation. So you have a cold water pipe, you know, in the bathroom in the summertime. What happens is the cold water starts to condensate. Well, that water just doesn't stay on top of the copper pipe. It will drip, and that drip will go behind the sheetrock. So that's another place to go find mold. Or ventilation, as we mentioned. Wet and damp clothing. So you guys ever you wash clothes, you left in the washing machine, forget to put it in the dryer. 2 days later, you go back to do laundry, and you're like, oh shit. I left my clothes in, and that misty mildew smell, that's mold. All right. So wear damp clothing. You ever leave a shirt outside in a rainstorm, and over time, it's under a tree, doesn't have sunlight to dry it out, you open it up, and you start seeing mold spots on it. Mold goes on, on anything that is not living, mold will grow on. Home flooring, it's a big one. So linoleum flooring like this, someplace where air cannot really circulate, ventilate, and in the sun or heat to evaporate. Damp basement is one of the best places for crawl spaces. It's another one.
Because there's no ventilation, it's hard to get fresh air.
And
And if you put the dehumidifier.
well, that's gonna help. That would help.
It will help, but what you're doing at one point, you're just gonna fit it, because it's gonna have so much mold that actually just put it in and out, in and out, in and out. I mean, if you change the filter and we top of it, of course, but if the filter is gonna last you what? Suppose if you have mold problem, like 12 hours, after 12 hours, what you're doing is actually the mold that is in the filter is gonna start leaking and you just flowing away.
What we're gonna do is, we're gonna do an air sample, right? We're gonna run it for, we run this for 10 minutes, we'll run it for like 15 minutes. Actually, you know what? How about we set it up now, just put it on now. By the time we finish the presentation, what we'll do is we'll go through this and we'll. Yeah, of course. And what we'll do is we'll show you guys how much particles will go into this sample. All right, so we run it for 10 minutes. We'll run it longer than 10 minutes. We'll run it for 15, 20 minutes. By the time we're all done, we'll look at this here and we'll show you all the particles that's in the air that we just don't even know. And if we did this by the copy machine, we'll actually get a lot of 8 particles.
I should do it already.
The copy machine. Yes, oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So you can actually see all the 8 particles that's in the air. So all this particles is making to the out. So this is the reason why when you have a home inspector, the home inspector is saying, oh, there's no vapor barrier inside the crawl space. Well, this vapor barrier really helps with the dampness in some of those crawl spaces. Then the foundation dampness, right? Same thing, water penetrating through the walls. A leaking air conditioning system. This one here is one of the main issues we find with mold, because what people don't realize is these systems are in tight quarters. So if it leaks, it's not going to leak someplace it's easy access. So people don't realize, they don't see it, they don't address it. The condensation tank can be full, it can be leak on one corner. The hose for the condensation could be clogged, so it's not dripping out, it's staying in the pan. So all this, and this is one of the major reasons. So that's it. So that's all. Wally, would you mind putting the light back on?
That means each house has a mold.
Every house has mold, but it depends on if it's good mold, bad mold, toxic mold. You'll find mold everywhere, right? But if you have a house that is not, if you have a house that you don't have moisture issues, you don't have ventilation issues, you don't have any of this stuff, you're not going to have mold growth. You know, like, listen, unless you're living in a hotel where the shower and the bathtub is cleaned after every single day. Like, no one here cleans their bathroom every single time it's used, other than hotels. Like I said, so you'll find until you clean it, you'll find black on the caulking. Well, that black is mold. It's milk. So I'm saying, like, you have mold, but you don't even identify it. You don't realize you have mold there. So as you guys are walking your clients to these properties and you see something, point it out to the home inspector. The home inspector, unless they're trained, they're going to say it's possible mold. We will tell you it's possible mold, and we've been trained in this. We don't know if it's mold unless we do a lab test. Exactly. So we're going to show you these tests now. So what we'll do is we'll spread these around. We won't open them yet. Or we'll spread this around. Or you know, we'll open them too. So this is our transfer. Right? So the transfer, what it is very easy. This is basically this device. I thought this is nice.
These are used one? The Mojo, bro, that's,
Is the used one?
yeah, that was pay one for this.
Oh, for the,
So it is,
This is virtual part too. That's one virtual part.
there you
So what it is the lab will go through the magnifying glass and look through this slot. What we do is we take our sample here, like a piece of tape. And what we'll do is we'll lift the area and put in the mold inside this white square.
go. Can I tell the story of this? I did this inspection, I was doing inspection with this. And I test, like usually, do we use this? Oh.
Oh, you know what? That's a good call. So we're on Zoom, so we're gonna take, you gotta look at the camera.
yeah, thanks for pointing that out for them.
Somebody gets.
Come on.
Somebody text about it?
No,
Well, there's a couple people in there, no?
Hey, Ron, can you make the lights brighter?
Five.
Brighter? Yeah. How you use the chat?
Oh.
All right, cool. All right, so here we go. Let me see. Can you guys see us? I hope you guys can see us. So as I was saying is, It's the one test, he uses a piece of glass, and then this is basically like a piece of tape. There's some inspectors out there that will use a piece of tape and take the tape and put it inside a sandwich bag. So you just take the transfer, we'll put it on, and then we'll take this, put it right on the glass, and then the glass, we send it over to the lab, right? We put it into like an evidence kind of bag, chain of custody bag, rather what it is. And yeah, so tell them about the soil and the swab, so they can see it. So you want to talk to them on the swab here.
Okay, so we got the swab over here with a little mold that I did an inspection. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so with a little mold, I did this inspection last month. And it's growing right now. So you can see literally they can grow anywhere.
Last month.
Yeah. So I did an inspection and I used 3 of this, right? I swab, I did the tape also in the air quality. There was no mold. That's the funny part.
Wow.
So literally what happened, it was probably he grabbed a little spore of like anywhere that you can rub it, and he have a little more, and now it's reproducing.
So now what do you do now? You go back to that property and what? So that it's higher up to fix it?
No,
Well, like I said, it's all the time.
it's more everywhere.
Yeah, so what
It's
can't
compromised now. This is compromised because it was outside. It was in the lab.
So when we give you your mold report, it's gonna tell you all the different types of mold. There's gonna be mold, but there's gonna be mold through the CDC, what is acceptable limits. So if you look at radon, you have, every house may have radon, but if it's over 4 parts per million, then you need a remediation system. right?
This mold, as he said, I can do the swab in that mold right now and left there for 2 months. This is 2 times, so you can know that it's some other type of mold. And that mold's gonna grow. And that's why a lot of private property managers ask to do air quality and test to see what type of mold is inside. It's not if you have or not, what type. Because what we do is like we swap everything like, what, 30 swab or 40, that's it. So you grow at least 40 and see the type of fungus that are in the walls. So you know it's like, okay, it's not a bad one.
So in this case, since the air quality was okay, then it's no issue.
Yeah, so any mold is it's gonna be within, so all the mold, so there's gonna be limits for all mold, right? So there's gonna be acceptable limits. So if it's toxic mold, obviously the limits are much smaller than something that is safer. So you'll see on the reports, that, hey, this is a test, and we found mold, and it was rare, medium, and high.
Yeah.
So if it's rare, it means there's really not a lot of mold in the room. So it's safe.
It's rarely.
Yeah, there's rarely mold in that room, but if it's high, that means it's a high amount in that room, which is dangerous.
And the reports also have colors.
So if somebody wants to fix mold,
So what we'll do is, you guys see this? So what we'll do is we'll give you guys our action plan, our assessment. And then the assessor will tell you, okay, this is what you need. You need to you gotta close the air conditioner doors. Exactly what it is. And inside that is sterile. That's sterile water that's in here. So what we do is a Q-tip is dry, right? It's flipped around. Q-tip is dry, we take it out, we dip it in some fluid. And because you need something to try to transfer over, and then we just roll it, and we put it right back in. We take this, send it right to the line. So, what was I saying?
How much do these various tests cost?
Good question. So we can get a test in 3 hours. So one test in 3 hours for a swab is probably $165 to $170 just for that one test. More economical price test is 24 hours. And we're looking at maybe like $45. So that's the reason why.
But again, you're not gonna do any of this test until like the inspector comes out and
Well,
then
we
you
get
test something and then you say, hey, we need to get a mold
Exactly.
specialist and you gotta come.
Or you can just say, hey, listen, I want my house inspected for mold. So we can do a full inspection of the mold and for such. Yeah.
So what's the difference for hour and?
Just how long, how quick you need. So you may not need it right away. And you save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, Yeah, because a lot of people are like, no, we need a 24 hours. Like, but it costs more, it's not us, it's the lab.
No, it's like one, for 3 hours, it's like 165, 175. Well, no, it will, the lab will use.
Yeah.
So we drop it off the lab.
Even making a promise that he didn't know it was that.
Oh, yeah, there's no.
Yeah.
New Jersey Services Code.
I mean, I seen you got oil, but
Yeah, it's, we're the car owners. So what happens is, we take.
Just included with inspection.
So they do the swap, right? So we do the swap tonight, right? And you're like, listen, we're on a tight deadline, jury usually, the inspection process will be done tomorrow, we need this today. So we're like, okay, we can do it in 6 hours. So we do the same. We drive to the lab is maybe an hour away. The South Project, 45 minutes away, right?
From here.
So we bring it to the lab, give it to them, it's at the chain of custody guy. They'll give us a report within 6 hours. Once we get the report in that 6 hours, we'll give it to you as a real estate agent or your attorney. So now you're still within that inspection period. But if you do it in the beginning part of the inspection, so say you do the inspection, you have 14 days, right? So say you do it within the first 5 days. You don't need to do it right away. You can wait even longer to do 48 hours. And in 48 hours, that's gonna be like $40, so that's what I'm saying, it's different prices. So we're not the lab technicians, we're not the chemists. We're just the mules.
just getting a sample that going to the lab. That's gonna-
Exactly.
So one of the properties I handle, the inspector says, under the floor, he's, in his report says there is a law.
The east or is possible more.
No, he said there is a law. I don't know. Okay, so my client called in one of the companies for the testing, but because not really easy, they have to make the call several, So who's, I put back in details, who has to cover it up?
Well,
You opened it up, you're gonna cover it up?
so, all right, so for instance, we use that same thing. If you're gonna put a borescope inside the wall, right? We're putting a hole inside the wall, inside of the pencil, for the camera to go into, we put the camera inside. All we do is we'll put a sheet, spot, to cover up the hole, like a paper, just cover up the hole. We can do samples of carpet, right? Basically, you're doing the air test like that with this little suction cup, which pulls stuff down. If we have to.
It's everything.
Yeah, we're a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, we'll just wait. So if they're going through the floor here, we'll try to, patch up as best as possible. But at the end of the day, it's the buyer's responsibility if they're doing the inspection to repair that. Yeah.
But it's funny that you actually mentioned, like you said in the beginning, it's funny that you said that the inspector said it is more. Because even that we are certified, we're licensed for this, we shouldn't say it's more, it's possible. Because who's gonna confirm if it is more or not is the lab. Because I cannot tell you, I don't know,
Yeah, no, see,
Exactly.
you have to say,
it's liability.
And you guys are not, that needs to be tested.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I mean, even inspectors will say, you have an electric bomb, a possible electric bomb, contact, they'll always tell you to contact somebody
Because
else.
I'm a home inspector, so our job actually is telling you what to fix.
So
Pretty much.
the property, I'm mentioning, so locally, the report says it is not really, nearby. Okay, but if there is a more, it needs to be treated. So your company will treat?
Yes.
Yeah,
Testing it.
So but it's two different services, so it's not like all inclusive to one price. So we'll give you the assessment price and if you have to do the work, is so that, like for instance, if there's a
the
mold in
entry price.
if there's a mold in this room, we're gonna seal out all the openings. We're gonna put a negative air filter capture. We have a positive air, so we have fresh air coming in, bad air going out. We have to vent it out. Now, a building like this, you're gonna have to pay a unit because you have to vent it out. You need 25 feet. Well, there's no 25 feet area to vent out air, so we need a bigger unit. So it's different circumstances, So we have to vent out the air. you have one machine to vent up the air. The filters have to be changed every 6 to 12 hours, the first filter. The second filter is after 200 hours. The third filter, which is the HEPA filter, right, is changed like every couple of months, and that's like a $400 filter. So you have all these filters. So the same thing with the asbestos and the mold. What we're doing is we're doing a remediation. All the spores that's in the air is getting soaked into the filter system, and then the fresh air is coming in to circulate that air out. So, it looks like, so people are like, oh, you just don't bleach on the wall and wipe it off. Well, that would fix this front part of it. But you guys saw what happens on the back. So just taking a sponge and putting bleach on, it's not gonna fix the problem. So a seller says, hey, exactly, well, and that's what sellers will do. I just had.
You know what? It's not, sorry.
It's still gonna come up.
Yes. With the pain when you actually.
So that's my question, because I live in a building, so I suspect that there's an opening. Because I hear like a drip, like coming from an above building, and then when I go to the lobby, which is, because I'm on the second floor, when I go to the lobby, right on top, I see the black thing, and then they paint it over it, it's like, okay, wash. So how do I go about it? Because if I fix my unit only, it's like,
You
it's
can't,
not gonna do anything.
you can't
Like,
fix-
so do I go to the management company and tell them to hire you guys to test the air and fix the
you
system out?
can.
Not by law, you can't, because that's not an environmental.
Talk to your HOA association.
Yeah, because it's like, it's coming from above, definitely, because I hear the drip. Like, it has to be a leak somewhere, one of those pipes. And, I don't have any water on that corner of my unit, so and then when you go to the lobby, you see the.
But that happens when exactly, because it could be.
I think it's when they flush the toilet upstairs.
Because that was
So
thinking.
that could also be,
And if it has to do with toilets, a stage 3 environmental check too as well.
Oh, that was in my mind.
Yeah.
Stage 3 environmental.
That's not even joke about it.
If anything touches it, so if it mixes it with any other water, anything that sewage touches, it's garbage.
Because we deal with that in our house, that's what we had to do with our house. We don't deal with that here because we don't do a stage 3, but it is something that's a stage 3 that you need to get that company to deal with, because then every area that it touches that it goes to becomes contaminated as well.
And that's it. So is the fee when it's talking about the building, it's not talking about.
No, it's not, because the fees change based on the prices that we have right now, is just based on a single family, and we have different prices for
Yeah, so
families and
for-
condos.
For the 3 to 4 bed, what was it, 3 or 4 bedroom, right? It was
No, it's on the single family with the 1,100 square feet.
1,100 square feet.
Yeah, but it depends, like, because everyone, there's no way that we're gonna test every single room. I mean,
Because that's a separate test. So
that's.
each canister, right, and when we do the air monitoring, so we're overloading that, so it's easy for you guys to look. So we're overloading. We do it we run it for 10 minutes. So each canister is per room. So if you're like, hey, I want to do it for all my whole house, and you have 14 rooms in your house, we're doing 14 of those, 10 minutes long.
But I'm thinking about my condominium building, and it's 5 floors actually. And it's, but I
It's the
think
same
it's
thing,
condensed,
so-
I think that's one column.
So the air quality test.
Oh, so it is drainage.
So it wouldn't be an air quality test, it would be an inspection where we use the cameras. And the air quality test would only confirm the visual inspection, but we wouldn't do that, we would probably most likely just do swabs of it,
I'm gonna contact the management company and give them your.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so how does it take to, for the
Oh, that's a big, it's an open question, this depends.
How big is it?
Square
How
feet,
big?
how big it is.
the people can still live there?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you got a whole wall and the foundation and the HVAC is around that area. But if we recommend to go out to the finish.
It's case by case. So if it's one room, you can be in another room, because what we're doing is we're sealing, the room is sealed to the elements, right? So we're putting plastic bags, around everything. Exactly, it's the exact same process, for asbestos, mold, it's basically you're entrapping the area, encapsulating the area with plastic so it doesn't go out. And what we're doing is, we're actually making an area to walk in, right? Because you have to walk in. So we're going in through one area, close, and then going into the infected area and close, right? And then once we go in there, once you're in, until it's finished, you can walk out, because what we have to do is be unchange and the other, decontaminate ourselves. Because what it is we don't want to get sick ourselves, so we're gonna be wearing masks, respirators and stuff like that. So for us, it's a danger to us just as much as it is to you. So we need to do this to keep it safe for your family, and at the same time for us.
Can you just tell me if it comes up? Go ahead. So after the treatment, okay, according to your experience, you're gonna come back. Correct? So-
We have to
Yeah.
do a test after we do the remediation, and that's part of the remediation.
And so we'll do the air test again. We will the air test to show that everything is fine. If we remediate the problem, fix the problem, it will not come back. It will be fine. But if the problem is because you have water coming through the foundation of the house, and we're telling you what you need to fix it, and you don't want to fix it, you just want to keep on taking the sheetrock down and put a new sheetrock up and put it down, we can't warranty that because it's not.
Fix it,
It's not
fix
just put a bed. If you cut your arm off, just put a bed, you're still gonna bleed. Maybe as much, but you're gonna bleed.
And don't the insurance company go, they'll just seal it up and say, don't touch it. Because I had a leak, one time from the whole unit, and I have it all. And the insurance company would put in the claim, and their thing was, oh, just enclose it, because if you bring that down, then you're gonna have to replace the entire, ceiling.
Well, we have to.
Don't
replace-
touch it.
We have to replace at least 3 feet around the surrounding areas to ensure there's no more roots in that area. So.
So it's the structure.
They don't show that, I mean, they don't have them on the picture, they show you gotta go 3 feet up, you just make
Because that way you make sure that it's not going around. It's not only one spot. So we want to make sure that if we take more space that is required, so we don't work on.
So what I'm saying is like, if you go and fix it, and you say your insurance company is the bill, then it's done. But if you call that, they're gonna say, well, they're inspectors, and they're gonna say, oh, no, all you have to do is just patch it up and close it, don't touch it. Because that's what they do.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna take your money, when the time comes to pay you for a thing, they always try to find everything else is liable for it, but not that.
Yeah.
So we're going through that with our house right now. Insane.
Okay, I understood that.
Yeah, you can say it, it's not.
Yeah, but it is a lot. Okay, sure.
So, all right, so what we do, this is the canister for air quality test. What it does, the air gets sucked through this hole here. Sorry, this hole here, through it. And what it does is there's a little stream here picking up the particles. We run for 10 minutes. We ran this for almost 20 minutes the whole time. So you overload the sample. So obviously, if you overload the sample, the lab, they can't accurately find it, and so it's too overloaded. So that's what we lose for 10 minutes. So if you put it to the light and look, there's a little kind of like a bar on the way down. You can see all the particles that's inside.
That is visible with the eye. It's mostly, it has to be a microscope, but if
So we
you,
So if
overload.
it's visible, that means it's. like-
imagine.
So this could be, now this, we don't know what's inside there. We did inside the copy room because the copy machine room has ink. That's in there, right? So a lot of that could be just ink. We don't know what's on there unless it's doesn't happen. But you can see all the particles that's in the air that we just don't see by the naked eye. And that's what this air quality test group does.
But we have to talk about asbestos.
So as far as asbestos, I can't talk about asbestos, all right? So asbestos is dangerous. There's no safe amount of asbestos that is good for you, right? This class here, we just did it because it's a lot to talk about. We're doing asbestos another time. So but just to give you, so there's 2 types of asbestos. You have the rapid asbestos that's on the pipe, right? The insulation that's on the pipe itself. That kind of looks like honeycomb, right? And then the more toxic one, the more dangerous one, is actually the one on the elbows, not the elbows, which is kind of like, it's like packed on, right? What happens with the asbestos it's cancerous, is the particles that come out. So same thing like the mold particles, it's the particles for the asbestos content. So as far as asbestos, the cleanup is exactly the same. The testing process is very similar, where we're taking samples and we're sending it to the lab will be confirmed. Because sometimes it looks like it's wrap insulation, or sometimes it could be asbestos. We have asbestos in flooring, we have asbestos in,
So one thing like asbestos was used back in the days as a material, construction material. That's why you see flooring, you see siding, there's asbestos, you see insulation. So it's just asbestos is a mineral very thing that used to build with that. And what happened is because the particles is like a shape like a let's say like a knife. So what it does is like when you breathe in your lungs, it produces I say
it cuts, opens up your insides, because the molecule, the particles are sharp. Just trying to
So
say
it's
that.
very costly to remove.
Yeah, so if you're looking at like 5 linear feet could cost you a couple $1,000. And it's not because of the removal of it, it's the more of the setup. Remember the HEPA filter I was telling you, it's a few $100 just for the HEPA filter doesn't last long. So, I said 3 months, it was opposite. So the outside has changed longer, the HEPA filter doesn't last as long. So the thing is, the setup can cost you $2,000 just for the setup, depending on which machine you use. Just on the setup, it costs you $1,000. The removal of it for 5 linear feet, you're like, oh, that's not a lot. It's not a lot, but you have to do it right to make sure the house is safe. After the remediation is done, we come in with our test and do air quantities to ensure there's no more particles in the air. All the particles are left gone inside the filtration system, and it's gone. Everything is just basically put in black garbage cans, bags. The asbestos goes into a special garbage place where they accept asbestos, so that the waste, the dump costs. So you have to think all these costs is because of the environmental issue. Mold is very easy. Mold, you just put a black garbage can and put it right into the corner of the street and your garbage can. Mold is not that bad. There's mold right now in landfill. What's dangerous and scary is the asbestos. So it costs for the remediation, the cost for the waste. So that's where the cost on asbestos is high.
So how small it is, the asbestos should be treated the way you just told.
No matter how much it is, because they said there's no safe limit of asbestos that goes into your body. Right? So, it's mesothelioma, right? That causes it's a mesothelioma response. But so there's no amount, it's too much or too little. It's just dangerous. So if someone has this much asbestos, we'll just take it down. First of all, if you're taking it down, all those particles are now everything. You have a fan, ventilation, or something like that, I'll spread it all over the place. And those things go into your lungs, your children's lungs, or some of that stuff. So it could get stuff like that.
Could make it worse by spreading it.
100%. Same thing with the floor. On the floor, when you rip up the floor, it's just as bad. So that's why a lot of people don't rip the flooring up, because it's cheaper just to lay the floor on the top. It doesn't change the fact that the asbestos is still there. The danger is still there. If you don't touch asbestos, it's okay, because the particles are not. It's what's dangerous is the particles. So you can live in a room with asbestos, but if something happens, a mouse, a child throws up knives, an earthquake, something that disrupts it, and particles release, that is where it's dangerous.
So one of the houses also I handled, they found asbestos in one of the closets or carpet. But they have to remodel. The contractor said, oh, this amount
that's him, it's not allowed. What I would suggest to you is if your clients could take that route, at least do an air quality test to make sure it's safe to live in my house now.
You do air quality test.
And that's what it was, that's what we did.
That's what we do. Where's the canister now?
Gene had a glass, it's right there.
Yeah, so the particles will go on here. What we do is we tape it up. So nothing goes in it. Up, back, motors. So it goes back in it. We put this in the bag. The bags are in my office. If I have to bring it, and then we just send it. And we can just put it right in the mailbox. Or if you need faster service, then we go to so it's not something that's fast. You don't need it. We'll just put it in the mail. It takes 1 day to get there, and then we get the results in 1 day, so we'll get the results in 2 days. If you need it the same day or the next day, then we try to buy it.
So if it is like 700 square feet, is how much it costs?
For mold, how much mold it is, you see how much mold it is?
But you asking for the air quality or just the general inspection itself?
Oh, the air quality test is very expensive. I mean, very expensive compared to an inspection. Air quality, so basically, you're just paying for the labor, and for this, it's a 10-minute test. We take this, we send it to the lab. So it's probably very real, like 100, probably around $100, $120, you know, probably around that price, depending on how much you need. So it's just air quality you get. But the reason why the price is that much is because it's actually 2 samples. One sample is outside of control. This is the actual sample that we look at. So you're like, well, I only need 1 test. We have to do 2 tests because you need 1 to control, to see no limits of the other. So when you get the test, we write on control, and you'll see the test side by side. And there's always going to be 1 that's going to be super high in mold. It's an outside mold. Right? So it's a known mold that's on the outside.
To fix that, they have to change the control and
To fix it, exactly.
Well, we have to see where the mold is. So we can do an inspection because the air quality test just tells you that there's mold. If we do an inspection is something completely separate because what we're doing is we're checking every part of the wall, the ceilings. We're doing the whole. So we're trying to find out where's the cause of the mold. The mold's there. So this mold, our job is to find the mold. So the mold could be on the other side of the wall. So if you think about it, say the roof is leaking, right? Well, the water would travel on the beam, come down, and maybe the conditions in that corner there are really good to grow mold, or the leak could be over there. So that's why the inspection is like that, because we have to find the original area. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for joining us. If somebody's still there.
I have to run.
Thank you.
I still run.